Grandpa's color. This story was inspired by the Farmonaut article, AI-powered Harvest Robotics. AI-equipped harvest robots use computer vision to assess fruit ripeness individually, reducing food waste by 20% and improving harvest efficiency by 30%. The tangerine trees stood in rows through the morning mist. Nathan parked his pickup at the edge of the grove and looked up the hillside. 25 years old, until last year he had been working an office job in Chicago. He came back this spring to take over his grandfather's farm. His grandfather, Walter, had passed away last winter, 87 years old. He had tended this grove for 60 years. At the entrance to the grove, the harvest robot Haru was waiting. It stood about waist high, with 6 articulated arms. Its cameras and sensors measured each fruit's color, shape, and sugar content, selecting only those at optimal ripeness. Good morning, Nathan. Today's projected harvest count is 320. Based on temperature and sunlight data, the estimated average sugar content is 11.2 degrees Brix. Morning, Haru. Let's get started. Haru's harvesting was precise. An arm extended, approached a fruit, and the camera measured its color. Spectral analysis calculated the pigment levels of the skin and estimated the internal sugar content. Only those exceeding the threshold were gently plucked, no bruising. The stem left intact. Nathan walked alongside Haru, glancing into the collection crate. Every tangerine was a clean, even orange. Uniform in size, nothing to fault, and yet something made him pause. Haru, hold on, yes? This one, isn't it a little early? Haru directed its sensor toward the fruit. The skin pigment level exceeds the baseline. Estimated sugar content is 11.0 degrees Brix. It meets harvest criteria. The numbers might say so, but Grandpa wouldn't have picked it yet. What do you mean? Nathan crouched in front of the tree and cradled a tangerine in his palm. He did not pluck it. He simply held it, studying it. Grandpa never looked at numbers. He didn't even own a refractometer. He went by color. I am measuring color. Through spectral analysis, that's not it. Grandpa's color wasn't data color. Nathan let the fruit rest back against the branch. Grandpa used to say, wait until you see a little red come in. Not orange, red. He said there's a moment when the skin takes on just the faintest reddish tint. Pick it then, and the sweetness carries a trace of tartness. That's what makes it ours. Could you define the redness in more precise terms? That's the thing, I can't. It was what his eyes saw. I'm not even sure I can see it exactly. But Nathan walked to another tree, farther up the slope where the sunlight was strongest. He looked at a tangerine there and nodded. This one, this color, can you see it? Just barely reddish. Haru turned its camera toward the fruit. Spectral analysis engaged the deviation from standard harvest parameters is a 0.3% higher reflectance near the 610 nanometer wavelength. A slight red shift is present. That's it. That's 0.3%. That's Grandpa's color. Haru paused for half a second. Nathan, this deviation is not included in the current harvest criteria. There is no record of it in the database. I figured. It was Grandpa's rule of thumb. May I register it? Is that okay? Adding a criterion that isn't in the data. My database supports the addition of farm-specific criteria. Separate from the general standards, I can store a harvest parameter unique to this grove. Nathan looked surprised. Then he smiled. Then go ahead. Register it as Grandpa's color. Criterion name. Grandpa's color. Harvest readiness indicated when reflectance near the 610 nanometer wavelength exceeds the standard by 0.3% or more. Registered. From that day, Haru's harvesting changed, if only slightly. Among the tangerines flagged as harvest ready by the standard criteria, any that had not yet reached Grandpa's color were left on the branch. One more day, sometimes 2, the result was a later harvest. A slightly smaller yield, lower efficiency. But when Nathan bit into one of the harvested tangerines, this is it. sweetness with the faintest edge of tartness beneath it. The flavor spread across his tongue, and then a clean, bright acidity followed close behind. It was the taste of the tangerines his grandfather used to pick for him when he was a boy. Haru, yes? This is our flavor. Autumn deepened, and the peak of the harvest season arrived. Nathan and Haru were in the grove every day. Haru selected by Grandpa's color, and Nathan would occasionally pick one by hand to confirm. They were choosing tangerines by both data and memory. One evening, Nathan sat on the upper slope, watching the sunset paint the grove. Haru stood beside him. Haru, yes? Can you see Grandpa's color? Not as data. Can you actually see it? I can only perceive spectral data. The way I see color is fundamentally different from the way a human does. Yeah, I figured. However, Haru paused briefly. The rate at which my criteria align with the fruit you identify as "this is it" has increased compared to a month ago. It is currently at 93%. 93%. Yes, I am gradually approaching your eye. And your eye, I believe, is gradually approaching your grandfather's. Nathan looked at the sunset. The tangerines glowed orange in the fading light, and within that orange, just barely, there was a trace of red. Walter had watched this color for 60 years. Nathan was only in his first, but together with Haru, he was drawing closer, little by little. 60 years of color, still ahead of him to learn.